because you want to keep building upon what that conversation, what that relationship is, so that, again, you're looked at as someone who's not just about the transaction, but about the totality of this relationship.
Welcome to the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast. Whether you're a seasoned professional or a first-time fundraiser, we have the advice you need to take your next step towards major gift mastery. I'm your host, Tom Dauber, President of Abundant Vision Philanthropic Consulting. In our last episode, Jim Mahoney, Vice President of Advancement at Adrian College, shared with us about how he missed the window of opportunity when attempting to solicit his very first major gift. Today, we are going to pick back up with Jim to find out how he recovered from that first failed attempt, as well as learn some other valuable lessons from his early years as a major gift officer.
And I let that window shut, slam, everything in front of me. And, it was awkward. It was, kind of disheartening a little bit because, we ended up having a really nice conversation, but we got back in the car and driving back to the college. And Chad was like, you missed that opportunity. And it was there. And, you got to kind of find the courage to come out and say it. And I was like,
yeah,
gosh, man, I'm so nervous. That's, I don't know if I can do that. And so waited a little bit of time and got an appointment again with the same dentist.
Yeah.
And this time I was by myself. And sure enough, that window kind of popped open again, and I made the ask. And he said no. And he ended up saying no to 25,000. I think he ended up doing 15,000. I think he did 3 a year for 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And went to the preclinical lab.
Of course it did.
Project. And, but yeah, it was, and still to this day, quite honestly, I can kind of see that metaphorical window open up in conversations. And, and I think maybe this is maybe you'll ask me this later or talk with me about this later, but it's like the thing I had to kind of get through in my own mind is, you develop this relationship with a person. It wasn't a cold call of me, about to ask someone for 25,000. I had some conversations before leading up to this. Mm-hmm. And, sure, it's like awkward and nervy to make an ask. And I don't care if it's 25,000 or 25 million, but, you ask it, and, even if the person says no, it's not no, I hate you, no, you messed up, no, what the heck. Yeah. It just might be wrong time, wrong place, wrong amount, wrong, there's got to be so many rights, RIGHTS, right? Rights to happen for someone to commit to a major gift or transformational gift. And maybe the time that we pick to sit down and talk over coffee or lunch or at someone's home or the office isn't the right time. And so, it's no might mean not right now.
That's right.
And that we can't take it personally that it's a slam on us, and that's where I think it was, I'm a people pleaser. And so when I got no, I was like, oh, he hates me. But, to this point, and truthfully, when I left the College of Dentistry and I came to Adrian, this dentist was the last person I called. And I thanked him. And I thanked him because it was truly like me cutting my teeth on with him as a prospect of mine. And I thanked him for, having appointments with me and letting me make that ask. And he was even kind of like dumbfounded. He's like, wow, okay, you're thanking me for, that. And I said, but I think it's really going to set me up for, what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yes.
So yeah, it was a cool moment to be able to thank him for that, truthfully.
I think it's very appropriate that you and I both blew our first major gift solicitation. Yeah. Now my story didn't turn out as well. I don't think we ever got a gift from that guy, but but it was still, so important. And I tell that story a lot of just getting past those psychological barriers
Yeah,
that, you know, come from us projecting our own experience, our own wealth, capacity, all those different sorts of things on other people. And we just try, our brains want to make that decision for them when
that's right.
really we don't have a clue. They may have $25,000 sitting, in their couch cushions that they wouldn't miss. Right.
Yeah, and for every, again, I'm trying hard not to say this individual's name.
Yeah. Right. Right.
There's other appointments. I mean, I remember shortly thereafter, whatever time frame that really means, I met with another alum, and we met in his hometown where he was a dentist, and we were going to have breakfast together, and we sat down and exchanged pleasantries, and then he was like, let's just get down to it, like how much you want, how much you need, and I was just like kind of thrown off. Like, I mean, I had a number in my mind,
Yeah.
and so I threw the number out there, and again, it was 25,000. It was five
Yeah.
a year for the next
Yeah.
5 years. He's like, I'm going to give you 10 a year for the next 5 years.
Hey.
So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's awesome too, you know. And so, but like, and that happened probably within the first 5 minutes of me sitting down at this table.
Okay.
And then the rest of the time was us just talking and
Yeah.
building that relationship and building that, camaraderie and which was really, really awesome too, because
Yeah.
that's, such a unique part of what we do is we get to really, it's not just a transaction. It becomes the relationship, and that's a really, really unique part of, I think, the advancement development world.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, Jim, we all make mistakes as fundraisers. Probably fewer for you than for me or others.
Yeah.
But what have been some of the wrong moves you've made? You talked a little bit about that first one there, but what did you learn from those wrong moves, and how did you recover from those mistakes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one that just always sticks in my mind is, again, back at Ohio State. Ohio State, although Adrian, I would say, has a wonderful legacy too, but I think Ohio State had a really nice legacy of families who kind of went through the OSU College of Dentistry through the years,
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
lots of family names. And I remember I went to this office this one time, and the I walked in, wearing my Block O pin and shirt and tie, and asked if Doctor So and So was there, and the office person kind of looked a little bewildered, and she's like, "Sure, I'll go grab Doctor So and So." And I was like, great. And I sat down in the waiting room, and Dr. So and so opened up the door and said, Jim, you're with OSU? I said, I am. He's like, just give me 2 minutes. And I said, all right, sounds good. And so I wait there, and I thought, wow, this is going to be great. I'm going to get in, cold call works today, like, here we go. And the door opens, like, oh, come on back to my office. And come back to the office and closes his door. And I thought, oh, this is going to be awesome. Like, this is going to be a great conversation. And then for the next about 15 to 20 minutes, he absolutely just blisters me about why his son did not get into
Oh yeah.
Ohio State,
Yeah.
and just absolutely takes me to task up and down for literally screaming for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And at the end, I will give him some credit that he apologized to me because he knows I wasn't, the admissions office coming in here.
Right. Right.
But he also said, you're the representative of the OSU College of Dentistry. And I thought to myself as I got back to my car, probably with my tail between my legs and, feeling pretty bummed out. I mean, he definitely let me have it, told me that we were no longer in his estate plans, and,
Yeah.
there was a lot. And his father had went to OSU. He went to OSU. Now his son was going to go to OSU. Now, not. And I remember coming back to the college, and coming back in, probably dropped my bag off, and I went right up to the admissions office, and I said, we've got to have a more open line of communication, and we need to know when legacies don't get in. And so, you know, to that point, I think research, doing a really good job of, maybe I needed to do better job of researching the offices, the alums that I was going to stop by.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I mean, it's funny because this is in the news here lately. I think I did a LinkedIn post about it, but people are putting forward legislation to make legacy preferences illegal potentially. I put out a little word on LinkedIn basically saying, if you want to really think about the elite, really picky universities or institutions of higher ed, you better be thinking about the health science colleges because none of them do legacy preference admissions, at least not the big ones, the great ones,
Yeah,
and they're doing just fine. They're fundraising. You run into situations like that, but for every one angry alum that isn't going to give to you, you've probably got 10 alumni who feel like they owe their success to their professional degree.
hmm.
Because that's the thing. Some of these private schools are like, well, we won't raise as much money. I'm like, well, you know, I can see the concern there, but there's a lot of health science colleges that are doing just fine without legacy admission
For
policies.
sure.
Yeah, that can be a really interesting thing. I had a dentist once, and he kind of gave me the same riot act, and then I went to that same director of admissions that you did, and I was telling him about the student, and the director of admissions was kind of surprised, like, "Wow, huh? Can't believe we missed that one." And the student ended up getting in
Oh wow.
because they had really a really impressive resume. It was funny though because the dentist told me, "Well, if my son gets in, I'm going to give you a big gift, and I'm not going to get." Well, did he ever make his gift? No, no, he
Right.
didn't. So,
Right.
just one of those things. Any other big mistakes in there, Jim?
I definitely, early on my career, probably, I remember being late to a meeting that I was driving into, and I didn't give myself enough time. And even there, I remember getting a little bit of the riot act from this alum I was meeting with, and I thought to myself, man, that is on me. And I think if people who know me today, and this is true for anything now, I am always early, if not way too early for
Yes.
things. And, I would much rather sit in a parking lot in my car, rental car, whatever, and sit there for 45 minutes than ever, ever, ever be late to something ever
Right.
again. And so, again, you learn from it. And it doesn't matter if it's traffic. I figure you got to take into account everything. Even now, like if it's getting to an airport, I'm there way too early. And I don't care.
Right, right. Well, it just takes missing one flight. Now through January 10th, Abundant Vision Academy is 50% off for my listeners. That's a $375 value. Just enter the coupon code half off, that's one word, to get your discount. In about 100 minutes, I'll walk you through, step by step, everything you need to know to begin identifying, qualifying, cultivating, soliciting, and stewarding major gifts for your organization. I'll answer questions like, how do I inspire my constituents to give more than they ever have before? How do I know when someone is likely to make a major gift? How do I decide how much to ask someone for? How do I determine what my fundraising goals are in the first place? What do I say when faced with objections? How do I get someone to agree to a meeting with me? And what do I say during that meeting? Just head to thomas-dauber-s-school.teachable.com and click on Abundant Vision Academy to get your discount today. The link will also be in the podcast description. Now in all your travels, and like you said, you spent a ton of time on the road as a fundraiser. We've got a lot of listeners who are still figuring out the art of travel and scheduling appointments. What learnings have you picked up along the way that you could share with them on how to get the appointment and schedule them effectively?
Yeah. So, you know, this is probably isn't groundbreaking by any means, but for me, especially in and working at Adrian and not working at a health sciences school where or with health science alumni like dentists or vets or
Mhm.
who kind of have pre set up hours and they're used to getting pitches from drug manufacturers or
Yeah.
someone trying to that would work really well for me us in the college of dentistry because we could kind of just drop by at Adrian, and I think other schools. Again, this isn't groundbreaking, but for me, working around meals has really been beneficial. And so if I can figure out, a coffee, lunch, and dinner if I'm on a big trip, usually that kind of really sets your day. And if you can get 2 out of 3 of those, it's probably pretty good. If you can get 3 out of 3, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
great day, and you'll be tired by the time you get back to your, hotel or wherever wherever you're going. And so I try to work around kind of those time frames. But the thing that I found is, I went to a conference years and years ago. It probably might have even been at Ohio State. And I got this button, and this button said, "It's not about me."
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And like I'm sure it's in my office here somewhere. But it truly is. And so, being flexible, and if someone's like, I can only meet with you at, you know, 2:30 in the afternoon, okay, well, take the 2:30.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
can only meet with you for a half an hour. Well, take the half hour.
That's right.
And so, it's not about me. And again, it's not just Jim Mahoney, but me being the profession. And we work where, and we meet up when our constituents can. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
be flexible, be accommodating. I've had a lot of meetings at individuals' homes, offices, back porches, country clubs.
Bob Evans.
Bob Evans, really, really tough to eat restaurants.
uh,
Really, really tough to eat senior living centers. Um, a
right.
lot of bad meatloaf through the years, but whatever.
Yes.
You meet where the individual, the alum, the constituent, the donor, the friend, whomever can meet you at the time that they can meet you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great advice, Jim. How do you go about securing? I mean, obviously you're saying yes to whatever time, but are there any tips or tricks that you use to keep yourself motivated and organized in your phone calling?
Yeah, I'm still a old fashioned note taking person,
Yeah.
and I have folders on all my major gift constituents,
Yes.
prospects, and it is like you want to make sure like you're following up on the conversation that you had previously, but you're not repeating yourself. So if someone's like, okay, I just had this conversation, you know, so
Right. Right.
I really do feel like we have to be kind of very organized, very strategic in our approach, and to kind of layer and build these conversations. And again, I feel like I'm doing a lot of air quotes today, but conversations could be emails, phone calls, visits. Because you're building one upon the other, and you're always trying to leave that conversation ready for the next conversation to happen.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
building upon that, and so if it's a cultivation visit, well, then you're setting yourself up for that next visit where it could potentially be a solicitation, but it could be another cultivation, as we know.
Right.
And then when you get to that solicitation, you're setting yourself up to make sure that that stewardship is going to happen.
Mhm.
And so, just being very organized. And I think everyone has their own time management system. organization system. I mean, for me, a lot of my colleagues now use Google Docs and things like that. I do because I have to. Not my preferred method, as a lot of my colleagues will attest to. But I keep notepads, everywhere I go, and I scribble down little notes so I can remember and it might be something I learn in a president's box for a football game, or something
Right.
that I learn at a cocktail reception, because you want to keep building upon what that conversation, what that relationship is, so that again, you're looked at as someone who's not just about the transaction, but about the totality of this relationship.
It really is about relationship, isn't it, Jim? Well, you've given us a lot of great fundraising tips today. We are so looking forward to having you back on the show next week to talk more about what you've learned as you've grown in your career, both as a fundraiser and a manager. I'm your host, Tom Dauber. Thank you for joining me as we journey together towards major gift mastery on the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast.